Chanamla, Chanjua, Dani, Jasuchi, Taji, Chanengi, Sonanki, Trola Venture, Sanjay, Drupa, Chodang Sogi, Chanamla, Chanjupa, Dani, Jasuchi, Chanengi, Sonanki, Trola Venture, Sanjay, Drupa, Chodang Sogi, Chanamla, Chanjupa, Dani, Jasuchi, Chanengi, Sonanki, Trola Venture, Sanjay, Drupa.
Dayata, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhisattva. Dayata, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhisattva. Dayata, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhisattva.
Maybe get some tea. Guys need some tea.
Thermos inside, please. Simja Tanjiro, Tojalana Majeva, Sanjay Kumar, Sinaja Tobacha, the children, Janjus Belgian, Sushi, now a single symbol of Toba to Shomano, which called the Kazubava, Takacha, Lambrishun, something check.
And so we set our motivation at the outset that we will do whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment in order to be of benefit to all sentient beings. And knowing that in order to attain that state, I must perfect all the trainings on the bodhisattva path. And to do that, I need a very good understanding of them. And to gain that understanding, I need the perfect knowledge gained by listening to a non-mistaken presentation. And thus it is with this in mind that I am here this morning to listen to a talk on the Graduated Path to Enlightenment series of teachings.
I don't want to that Nambu nature choosing pictures of some Stana and Rangi Tungi Nankala and Kasurata and Jachiga. Tabula to Tumba Shaja to what set up.
And so then, as normal, to begin this teaching, we set up the merit field in the space in front. And here, first of all, beginning with the figure of the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, the one skillful in means and greatly compassionate. And so at the heart center of the Buddha is Vajradhara, and at the Vajradhara's heart center is the wisdom being.
And then because of the Chivola and because of the Tugane and because of the Tempola was a trouble and because of that Nami Chile Lamata, Javato Chane, Nami Chile Lamata set up with the chap.
And then from the emanating from the heart center come these streams of light, and at the end of one of these, above the main figure, comes the lineage of the consecrated practices headed by Vajradhara.
And then because of the Tugane and because of we say Yechola, Yechola, and because of that, because of that, because of the Jesu Jamba Kombola and Casodeta, Japa Tomela Sobeta, and 가서 되게 권이 더 간자체 자주주주 라면한테 권이 요 삼사체 아니 근데 가서 연조 가서도 연조라 가서다 간자체 지수 잡아야네 좀 맞주변 공부를 주다 아니 가서 반대 다와 잡아다 로메 산제 장나라 소베다 간자체 사무다 의주베기 라마티가 요 삼사체.
And then again with streams of light emanating from the heart center, the one heading towards the right will establish the lineage of the extensive practices, and that this is headed by Maitreya and including such notables as Arya Asanga and so on. And then with again a stream of light emanating and moving in the towards the left to establish the lineage of the profound view. And again, this is headed by Manjushri and includes such notables as Arya Nagarjuna, Master Chandakirti, Buddha Palita, etc.
아니 되게 샴데라 다 자지적이 사모도주고 되게 샴데라 아니 가담게 아니 람르 가놈 가서다 가담게 규바 숨데 가서 감데 안 람리파 가서다 람리파다 맹아파다 아니 가서 슈바파샤 가담게 아니 규바 숨데들 요 삼사체 안 되게 샴데라는 장골라마 종가파게 아니 다 기ዱ게 sab지고 고는 다가는시 장골라마 종가파게 아니 규바티게 가담 사마티가 요 삼사체.
And then on both sides then and just below those two lineages of the extensive practices and profound view respectively, you will find then the establishment of the different Kadampa lineages, the three main of the text-based Kadampa lineage, the lineage based on the graduated path, and the instruction-based lineage of the Kadampas. And then just below them again on both sides we'll have the lineage of the Geluk tradition with Lama Tsongkhapa at the head, and including of course main disciples of Kedrupje and Gyaltsabje, etc.
아니 근데 그 라마 라마 도안도 참게 아니 도인들라 아니 랑게 진짜 세벨라마라 안 천정모도 라마 소코니요 삼사체.
And then again from the heart center of Vajradhara at the very center, again light emanates, establishing just in the very front, just below the main figure. In fact, the series of our own gurus, headed by our root guru and surrounded by all of those teachers from whom we have received teachings.
아니 다나데 아니 데네 아니 디 샴데라 아니 가소다 다다데 다다데 가서데 다 간자체 상아 규디시 나네다 라메제 아니 내조주제 주주제 자규제 와다 마시도 인제 마인드 유어 삼사체 저 배상아 두바 라소베다 간제 배상아 두바 도지 직제다 아니 헤루카다 다가니 신카도 가서 난 두고라 소베 라메 규디시 안티 샴데라네 내조주 제네 주주 제네 자규제 와다 마상나 유어 삼사체.
And then again, just then at the next to or just below that grouping of our own gurus and all those from whom we have received teachings without exception, that are established in the four tantric sets of deities, beginning with the Anattara Yoga, or highest yoga tantric set, and that will include the likes of Guhya Samaja, Yamantaka, Ruka, etc. And then you form from next to them the yoga charya, the yoga set, the charya set, the kriya tantric sets.
어디 샤마들라는 개바들 계산상 돈치고 계산상 게 돈치 다가는지 아니 메라 대세제라 소바 다가는 생각들 가서도 산제 다 가서도 동샤가 산제 순주 송알라 소바 때가 라존나 주고 산제 때다 거네 뒤 오마데는 랑게 어디 다가제 어디 뒤오마데 자주 써봐 가서도 다다데 니베스제 게라 소바 자세 파바나 거 뒤 샴들레는 랑게 다 좀 받게 안디 샴들라는 년도 자주 받게 나 바오 컨트 춘종 소마선 어다가 이제 보다 초시 차상하지 강용용 그는 세다 문에 걸어 대유 삼사체 다 세고 싶을 가고 싶다래 이는 문에 걸어 대유 삼사 어떤 공부시
And that the next grouping again below the previous one will be all the Buddhas of this fortunate eon, including the 35 Buddhas of confession and so on. Then next to them we'll have the great bodhisattvas of such as the 8 close disciples of the Buddha. Then next to them are the hearers and the solitary realizers, those practitioners on those vehicles, and then the dakas and dakinis, or sorry, the arhats, and then the dakas and dakinis and the dharma protectors. So this is the entire merit field. Very difficult, of course, to visualize clearly with all that detail, but we must try to do our best to get as clear as possible.
다 개치시대 그서 칼럼에 봐서 데이터나 사제 쇼서 소소 매바체는 거다. 내가 대유 삼삼체 어떻게 해주시는 바로.
So what's really important and quite essential, regardless of how well we may be able to visualize or not, is that we have in our own thinking, in our own mind, a certainty that the figures of the merit field as have been enumerated are actually present, whether we can actually visualize them or not, that they really are here, really are there. And that they do not exist in the way that they appear. It is also important to understand that the merit field that we are attempting to visualize is not something static, like a painting or a picture, but actually it's highly busy, very, very busy. There are emanations of all the figures in the merit field heading out, fulfilling the purpose of sentient beings, returning back, having done so. And this is a very, very busy, kind of like a total intersection of activity. Also, it's important to understand that even though we have generated the figures of the merit field in different aspects, so some are in the aspects of Buddhas, some are in the aspects of solitary realizer, arhats, and dakas, dakinis, and so on. But actually, they are all fully enlightened beings, and that they are really emanations of the central figure of Guru, Munindra, Vajradhara, all emanating out.
다 주주배로 나서와들 심진을 감담해봐 나서와 인사 감담해봐 나서베 된 돈에는 심지가 된 저거 이거 인사 what 공부시 아니 되네 아니 랑게 타고도야 아니 랑게다 세디 밤마다 저거 정말 나서베 아니 녀게식 되게 아니 되네 저게 아니 토마매바는다 지금 가서데 정기정배 밤마 나서바 되게 큰가 유성자 다가는 시간 랑게 저와 야고 매경기 리티게 대 차상 유여 삼사처럼 다 도나랑 팬토기 있는 뇌기게 있는 밤에 심제 이만 수이만 심제 인사배절라 보다 라게 진짜 막인 심제 차되고 유도 되게 큰가 아니 마사와 매반다 배다 권이 유여 삼사처럼 어떻게
So this kind of activity, these enlightened actions that are happening as we visualize the merit field are just simply acknowledging that the enlightened beings will emanate countless versions of themselves, countless emanations, in order to fulfill their own purpose for attaining that state of enlightenment, because it is in order to benefit all sentient beings, and it is in recognition that there are these varied sentient beings with varied needs, infinite varied needs, and that therefore all of these different emanations from the merit field are heading out, engaging in that activity of benefiting sentient beings in all their multiplicity. So that is the merit field, and then in the space all around us we also have a visualization, and that is to include our parents, our relatives, our friends, those who we are knowing. And it is in recognition also that that all of the sentient beings are none other than have been parents, loving parents to us since beginningless time, and that and this is also who we include in the visualization around us are not just our friends and loved ones, but also neutrals, and also those who we regard as enemy, who we have in a good relation with, not in good connection with, and to understand that the very fact that they are sentient, and that the fact that all sentient beings should be held as being extremely kind, because in the context of beginningless time they have all acted in that way, in that role for us, as having been extremely kind in the role of a mother, father, and so on.
어디를 타입에 막겠으면 이제 탐제다 마상와 매바 유여서 대다 탐제는 대화도지 동해면 되고 그래대 얘네야 아니 되베 대화지 다다 메데 미데베 동해 찍시라 찍 못는 용티겠지 안 되는 간소 삼나다 대다를 메베 아니 닝제 아니 둘라 세대베 아니 초기신 대다를 미베다 대화 대게 고송투 윤대 칠레기 윤대 삼나다도 대다를 미베 대화 어디를 공부하시
And so that therefore it's really in brief that all sentient beings are in the space all around us, and they're all there without exception. Nobody is left out. We also are full of the recognition that just like myself, all those sentient beings want happiness and do not want suffering, yet they are bereft of the former and they're inundated by the latter. And that brings forth a sense of compassion from us within for all the sentient beings. And that is conjoined with the understanding of faith towards the figures in the merit field when we come to focus on the merit field. And that is based on really our just recollecting the amazing qualities of an enlightened being's body, speech, mind, and skillful activities, etc.
대달미베다 다음에 대봐 이시기 대봐 문도게 대봐 왔다 되게 아니 와야 된대 주는 심지가 좀 배면도 쭉 들었잖아. 그래서 아니 지금 문도게 대봐 왔다 되게 대봐 되게 또 공부하시 왔더랬지.
And so that faith is a triple faith of the pure faith, of faith that is the faith of conviction, and the faith of manifest faith, which is the encouragement that we have based on our appreciation of the qualities of enlightened being, and that we want to emulate those qualities. I want to make those qualities manifest in myself, and one has the faith to really push that along.
아니 다 단단 먼저 소식신 된데 세다와 대달래 아니 투가네 아니 왜세 장래 대와 트네 아니 배 신람잠나 왜세 트네 아니 대다게 아니 20번 무엇으로 소전전에 소전 대달 탐제라 아니 배 20번 차상게 아니 그것다 팀소 삼사 와다데 전전에 대달라 템 20번 무엇으로 아니 쇼소 삼사 와다데 공부시.
And then comes the invocation for the wisdom beings to come, and that this begins by light emanating from all the figures on the merit field to the pure realms, and then we invite the wisdom beings to come, and the wisdom beings all come and dissolve into all the figures in the merit field.
어디지 안다 되게 아니 그 랑게 아니 배 소신 대단하네 지금 된데게 다 가서 대화도 이제도 매번 요번 신기 타 랑게 타고리 봐 심지어 탐제장 아니 리두스 동에 냐시 봐 임바 간자 남바 아니 민내신 남주요 되게 아니 대자부유 된소라 아니 지 가서데 된데게 대화도 이제도 매번 요 되게 어떤데 지 공부시 어떻게 아니 자비 대다 되게 배도 출로 세베 만나 주 배다가 봐 아니 진길랍 되게 저거든 조금 맛이.
And so then that's the connection between ourselves and all of the sentient beings surrounding us and the merit field is that we have all of the sentient beings and all the different manifestations and bodies of sentient beings, yet regardless of what realm they're from, they are considered to have the understanding of a human being. So they have that sensitivity and understanding of a human being, and therefore they can, the same as we are, looking at the merit field with that feeling of love and that feeling of faith and conviction in the merit field, trust in the merit field, and that in the merit field as a pure and dependable object of refuge. And the merit field responds to that sense of trust and faith by looking with love on all the sentient beings all around, and really giving that protection.
아니 되네들 속이 신대다라 다 간제 저기 적가 소리 다 간제 야라도 뭐 멘제다 집어 피냐 아니 소사 집장잖아 다 간제 자자와도 저 랑게 롱가 예수게 아니 차세에 차자와 최제 아니 대 최바 타야바 최바 뜨네 다 랑게 무엇을 참배 최바 받도 윤잡을서 가리여 봐 있네 아니 다가는 저 랑게 교수도 사배 객사 아니 심지어 탐색의 교수도 사배 객사 다 객사 용서게 아니 가서도 최배 수수 뜨네 아니 지금 가라서 되게 미감게 아니 배 최배제 딱 되게 뭐 다가는 이제 순간별라 안 되벨라 되게 딱 가져 저거 어디 가서 딱 가져 최배의 딱 되게 돼 안 지금 상기 계사 되게 주의잖아요 피네 안 대다 표하라 되는 대다라 투주라 대화 좀 대외 동바다 대돈 있으면 이시 계속 섬사기 안 최배 양아 되게 삼다 장자와의 최제 아니 샤바 라한다 타입에 맞게 심지어 탐색에 통화만 받아 사배 디바다 디바디가 되면 작답지에 류가 예수 본 사배 디바디가 돼 아니 어디서 샤바치에 어디서
So then we offer the seven-limbed practice and offering mandala to the merit field. This will include the making of the offerings of our everything that we have in terms of. First we do our prostrations, do the prostration of our body, our speech, and our mind, and that's followed by the making of offerings to the merit field. And in this we include all our root virtues that we have ever accumulated, but also including all of the sentient beings all around us, because they are participating in this offering of the seven limbs and mandala practice as well, in order to accumulate merit and in order to purify negativities. And so with those offerings, then we're offering all of our root virtues that we have ever accumulated, and indeed the very best of everything that we can visualize, that we can imagine, that which is real and that which comes from our own imagination, such as all of the exquisite items that can be found in the desire realm, God realms, or celestial realms. And that they are the very, very best of all offerings that are multiplied and made to the merit field. The merit field receive these offerings. They are extremely pleased. They engage in the bliss. They experience bliss, which transforms into emptiness, and they abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness. And then we engage in the next limb of practice, which is the practice of confession and purification. And so we become aware of all of the negativities that we ourselves have accumulated, and indeed, by extension, all of the negativities of all the sentient beings with us and around us. And these are, we confess and purify.
딱 간제 가라서 류고네 차세 나고 이 차세가 qab래 아니 차세와 되게 돼 아니 가서 단다디 속에 신대다 당돌래네 아니 가서 대 액셉트 소리다 당돌래 아니 내가 대다 투결을 가서 차세와 대다 투결을 대화통 대도 뉴스 아니 당하는 시 추가 표발했다네 대다 투결 대화도 대화도 뉴스 아니 랑이 샤파 제바데데 대다가 투기를 대화 중 대외동 대전 칼 나라서 칼이 약보 제바네 대다 툴 대화 중걸 왔다디 지단 코나툴 대화 매베 뒤요 말 뒤에다 대화 유예 말이다 이내 나라서 그 된대제 제바데 컨수 속에 신대다 나라서 약보지 중으로잖아 되게 교주 들어왔잖아. 다 되게 교문에 들어와이나. 다 하나서 소화되고 가서 믹스에 대화 통해 봐도 더 봐요 말와. 다 뒤도 대화 좀 대화도 대돈에서 왜 이식 계속 삼사잖아. 아니 다반의 제수이라. 양가라도 랑이 개발의 제수라. 생이 개발의 제수이라. 안 다가는 생 믹스에 랑다 자와 약보 매되게 미기 개발의 제수이라. 제가 쉬워지 개준 거래. 아니 상계 장생 니랑 바오 칸도 다 주요수만 라수바다 다가는 생 심제 탐제게는 객사들 야구자와 뭐요라 되게 제수이랑 제 제수이랑 저때 제수나 제와를 때는 아니 대다가 또 소식 대다 투기를 대화도 대도 예수는 계속 썼어 어때 고파지 대를 저번에 빼미스가 저 라부체 저한테 연구해서래.
So during the course of this practice of the 7 limbs of practice, that at each stage, be it to when we engage in the prostrations of body, speech, and mind, that this provokes, this inspires, a better word, that sense of bliss from the merit field that comes from their being pleased with our efforts at virtue, at our efforts at positive action. And again, at each stage, this sense of being pleased brings forth bliss. This bliss combines with the emptiness, and they abide in the non-dual bliss and emptiness. And that again, with the practice of offerings, with the practice of purification, that the same result, the same inspiration happens. That all the figures of the merit field are very, very pleased. That transforms into bliss in their own minds. Again, that it combines with emptiness, and they abide in a non-dual bliss and emptiness. And so this is not to say that the Buddhas, indeed all the figures of the merit field, are not always in a state of bliss, not always in a state of non-dual bliss and emptiness. They are. But it is for our sake to see that the Buddhas, all the figures of the merit field, are exceedingly pleased, and that we are actually engaged in positive spiritual practice, and that any virtue that we are doing will bring forth that sense of their being delighted with our efforts. And this is in order to kind of really inspire us to keep going.
그냥 알아서 파마지 바이나 보고 약보지 지거도나 파마 기부 연구로 와. 파마 기부 연구로 와. 스마 기부 연구로 왔다 되네지 딱 파마래 딱 자주 동족을 하러 와. 가서 산재기 투고라 산재도 자주 쓰면 또 심지어 담재 대화 탐재도 대화 또 탐재도 저와지 주나 치마로 사는 뒤에도 투게 람람 뭐 저거 산재와 인자 아니 알아서 그 대외 교주 두반에 코나서라 뺏 시골 좋아하는 거로 와. 또 와요 말와.
And so that, this is in the same context. We can understand this when a child behaves well, will obviously please their parents who want to see their child doing well and doing the right thing. And so you multiply that by hundreds, thousands of times. Here, the Buddhas in the merit field who have actually, developed this intensive intention to completely relieve all sentient beings of their suffering and place them into every happiness. Consider how wonderful that would be. For that sake, they generated the mind of enlightenment, went through all of the different practices to attain that state of enlightenment. And so the fact that we are doing so, that we are doing so of our own our own initiative, is going to be something that really pleases them. And how much more pleased they will be by us engaging in practice like this. And that also the next stage of the 7 limbs then was the stage of rejoicing in our own virtue, rejoicing in the virtue of others. And that means all others, and we can include here the Dakas, Dakinis, the Arhats, the subrealizers, the Arhats, the Bodhisattvas, the Buddhas, and all of the members of the merit field. In fact, all beings engaged in virtue, we can offer all that virtue, rejoice in all that virtue, and we can rejoice particularly in the virtue of those who we dislike, who we don't get on with, because that is the most difficult to rejoice in, but it's also therefore the most valuable rejoicing that we can do.
남주이나 다 소속에 대화 야고 매긴데 아니 가서도 제수란다 가와가 차단로 개용으로와 차단로가 다 믹스가 되지도 아니 거제 차단로도 숙충도 차단로 숙충도 저는 거에 들어와 등어서 거에 들어.
So this counteracts our usual reaction to the person we don't like, and when they do well, we usually have the opposite reaction. We kind of have we're critical of it, or we're in some way involved in these extremes of attachment and aversion. And so when we are engaged in rejoicing in their good actions, this is something that is going to reduce the extremes of attachment and aversion, and that's always a good thing for us.
다간제 어딘데잖아 다간제 양라도 봐 아니 되네 가서도 냥갈레미도 소와다도 초고고 고에도 냥갈레미도 소와다 왜다 와다데 그 쟤네 다간제 양라도 봐 되게 강가 강토도 그 삼로스타네다 다 초가 찌르도 망부 요래 아니 가리나면은 배다 찌통도 도나 리보도나 카이케와 요말 개치지도 돈다도 다다 창와 제잖아 창와체는 양라도 봐 되다 가제 아니 냥갈레미도 초고고 고에 냥갈레미도 소와다 왜 아니 어떤데 전다 가자지 아니 겨와 조사도 뭐예 아니 어떤 아니 가서도 아니 맨제도 잡아 어떤데 저 표현은 어떤 초신 대다 탐자 내가 잡아도 초신 대다 탐 두가 대화도 대화 동바도 뉴스 이시 쳐 섭섭잖아 다 랑게 드린 게 도대체 뭐죠 중수 섭섭자 가고 어떤데
And so then we can continue with the other limbs of the 7 limbs in a similar manner, that entreating the Buddhas not to pass into parinirvana, to kind of stay and to teach the Dharma, and to dedicate all of the virtue that we have accumulated up till that point as well, and that here. To make these supplications, to engage in all the different aspects of the merit field. At each stage, again, the Buddhas are pleased. That brings forth the bliss. That brings forth the emptiness, and they abide in the non-dual bliss and emptiness. And at the conclusion of that, having offered mandala, etc., we can really rejoice in the fact that we have really done something quite significant in our practice.
아니 되네 다 디가 아니 소신 디가 야뒤네 야뒤 다 야뒤잖아 다 간자 저기 가서다 야뒤네 다 간자 저 미네 야다 최종 송마 디가 야 찍라 찍템잖아 야 팀잖아 디가 저 아니 저 가서 디가 찍라 찍템잖아 아니 야 저랑기 진짜 주동거도 진짜 자외라 말 야팀 아니 단데네 가서 가당고 라마티게티에 가서 정말 예유라 정말 라마로 종가베게 아니 규바티게 가람 사마티게 지라 직템치네 야야치네 아니 가담게 규바 숨데라 야팀 가담고 규바 숨데 야를 찍든다는 지가 사모타주데 자진 주주고 규바데 야야팀네 아니 이게 타마들 잠자야니라 파티 지 가서 잡아야 지 저 잡아고물 파티 저 가서 저 잡아고물 지 잡아야 파티 안테네 이게 가서 냐네 지마지 발라마다 찍라 찍템지네 야야야 저 자도지 장야 좀 라망가티 또 미치네 어떻게 지금 좀 어떻게 참
So then follows the dissolution of the dissolution of the merit field, and this is done in the following way: that one can begin with the last line of the kind of members of the merit field, being the Dharma protectors, and they dissolve into the grouping just above them. For example, the Dakas and Dakinis, and then that continues on, that process of dissolution from the lower strata, dissolving into the one above, until it comes right up through the Arhats, the hearers, solitary realizers, the Bodhisattvas, the Buddhas, into the all the different sets of the Tantras, dissolving into the one above, and finally into all of the grouping there of all of our own gurus from whom we have received teachings, until you are left with just one figure left in that group, and that is our own root guru, just below the central figure. And then you begin the process of dissolution, both left and right, happening simultaneously. with the groupings headed by the Gluk tradition of Lama Tsongkhapa, dissolving into the Kadampa lineages, and those Kadampa lineages dissolving into the lineage of the profound view and extensive practices, and then all of those gurus dissolving into the head of those lineages, being Manjushri and Maitreya respectively. And so they are left there, and then the final dissolution at this point is the dissolution of the consecrated practices lineages, which are behind the main figure, and they dissolve upwards until they get to the head of that lineage, which is Vajradhara. And so now you're left with 5 main figures of Vajradhara, Manjushri, Maitreya, and one's own root guru, and the central figure of Guru Manindra Vajradhara at the very center.
because chiboge da choshing de chibo de la ane jawa doje cha de ma interest team ne ane kaso de lama tuan do cha party yin jam jan ni de lama tuan do cha party ane mine ya kaso de mige sham de rang chojong de za lama de ya ane kaso de da ka je je ka da de kaso choshing zo da ka je lama tuan do cha tu ga da ne so sam sa cha wa da de in de chen da de ga cha da lama tuan do cha chu go set up.
And so then one can pause at this point and really try to focus as clearly as one can on these final remaining main figures, the 5 remaining figures of the merit field. And it can be somewhat easier at this point to get a clarity with regard to that visualization. And again, if one has the time to again pause and go through the 7-limbed practice, the offering of mandala, etc., and make supplications to these main figures, and that then the process of further, the second stage of dissolution begins, and this begins with the figure of Vajradhara above and behind, and that vision of the dissolution of Vajradhara down through the crown of the main figure of Guru Manindra Vajradhara, and dissolving into that Vajradhara at the heart. And then the figures of Maitreya and Manjushri together, dissolving into the heart center of the central figure. And finally, the figure of our own root guru comes to the heart and dissolves into the heart of the central figure. So now we are left with the single figure of Guru Manindra Vajradhara.
Oh, that lama tuan doji chante but to sanja tam je tani sute o de che.
And that we are fully aware that the figure of Guru Manindra Vajradhara is the embodiment of all Buddhists.
And then kuchitani lama labela tuan doji chanasa, tipe chugote lama tuan doji chanasa. And the tejo longo de lama tuan doji chanasa. Damjo kundo lama lama tuan doji, kindu kundo lama lama tuan doji chanasa. And kada tuan doji chanasa, kanjo kundo lama labela tuan doji chanasa soate. And kada chujo kundo lama lama tuan doji, jamne kundo lama lama tuan doji chanasa soate. Nakaje wateniche soa puchu sote, wateniche.
And then we make the prayer from the miraculous book of the Gelugpas. My most divine Guru, Lord of the 4 Kayas, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My most divine Guru, Lord of unimpeded Dharmakaya, I make a petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, Lord of blissful Sambhogakaya, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, Lord of sundry Nimanakayas, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, embodiment of all the Gurus, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, embodiment of all deities, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, embodiment of all Buddhas, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, embodiment of all Dharma, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, embodiment of all Sangha, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, embodiment of all Dakas, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, embodiment of all Dharmapalas, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara. My divine Guru, embodiment of all refuge, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni Vajradhara.
어디다 도바샤자 도바다 라마 통한도 자다바 탐제가 다니 때 안도다 어도 저번에 가서 꾸자서 마음 고마다 또바 코나데 탐제가 다니 때도 다 동대고 싶어.
So that the fact of this single figure, the main figure of Guru Muninja Vajradhara being the embodiment of all Buddhas is extremely convenient for us. We don't need then many representations of all the different kinds of Buddhas, in that they're all embodied in this one figure.
what 동대고 싶다. 이게 심한 건강을 유연돼 되게 통 안 되게 나 도바샤자 두베게네 다 도바샤자 두발에 중화지 시험한데 도바 유여서도 건강 상태가 소차기도 와 어다들 다 가이는 거다 진짜 어다들에 다 되면 아니 배는 검작이나 어당도 소신들에 세다 차상아 뒤들에 아니 타마타마들다 배 조금 적이네 조금 다 도바라는 면 조금 이제 제대로 지금 열다 듣고 같이 충종쳤어 고바시에도나 시 배는 가시 그런 신의 공개 잡았는데 가리인 반에 딩이라 초사 집장도 조고도 초사 집장 맞잖아 신의 공통 말이야 어떻게 초사 집장도 제다 신의 공부이네 오 신의 공초를 다 라면 공부나 라면 공청 되고 초사 집장은 게 조고로 와 어떻게 되잖아 어때 나가라 믹전에 그래서 다 같이 미고 때잖아 신의 공부이네 가르치는 다 초사 집장 근데 지금은 뭐다 돈 되고 싶죠 어떻게 되잖아
And so that if we're engaged in, say, a meditation practice, we want to do simple placement meditation in the course of trying to develop meditative absorption, meditative quiescence, that this is very good to choose this kind of figure as our object, and to take this figure as our object of focus, and to make it as small as possible is preferable. And but always to precede any meditation we do, whether it's in order to develop meditative quiescence or on the graduated path to enlightenment. Indeed, any practice, any meditation practice we do should be always preceded with these stages or limbs for accumulation of merit and purification of negativity, because there can be no progress without a twin process of accumulating the necessary meritorious energy to continue, and also the purification of those negativities as obstacles to our success.
어떻게 딱 이제 무슨 검자도 호프가 검자가 뭐 당고 되게 소신 되게 삼로다 아니 자자 아니 소신 되게 되는 아니 두간의 외세트 이시바 무슨 슈 되게 미바 종에다 다간 이제 소신 되게 자자 야도 아니 지금 팀다 그 탐제 지도 때다 배는 또 말을 어떻게 공부하지 어떻게 찾아 지금 제발나 아니 제일 공자도 로또 내체다 도시 이자가 거다 조사를 가지고 다 어떻게 다 다들 가수 배워도 다 어디 남는 거 저거 있죠 아니 다다 아니 되나 랑게 지워들라 다 가자 랑게 안 우로다 가자 지워들라 아니 다 가자 가서도 지볼라 빼마다 니마다 다외 된지 삼로 다들 가자 빼마다 랑게 다 가자 코알레 녀바주는 녀중의 삼지의 삼지 아니 지금 빼마지를 줄수 삼서 로티 아니 되네 장주의 삼지의 삼로다 뭐 되네 돈이도 베셔라자 티 아니 타와라 아니 된데그 두바지가 나한테 가봐도 제 많이 봤다가랑 갈 셈샤니 아니 된데게 로티 아니 가서도 니메킹 거치를 줄수 삼삼체 아니 되네 다 셈제 탐제도 산제의 고마 톱되고 로지의 삼로다 된데그 로티에는 다외 김고치라 주소서다 랑게 지고 빼마 니만 다외 되고 되지 삼로다 람손남손다 제외 돈에 삼로스다 아니 되네 아니 둘라 세데베 아니 라마 샤자 토안도 상태 아니 제한잖아 랑게 지고 반대서베 라마를 부탁이 지고 빼면 그냥 구조도 용무도서도 제한잖아 담배 값수 배 이백 값수 쇼 스백 값 때도 산제 고마 마도 받아 제소 송소 서서 어디는 고마시
And so it's this is highly recommended prior to any practice, this process of setting up the merit field as has been described, then the making of the offering of 7-limb practice and the mandala practice and so on, the invocation of all the Buddhas, setting up of all the sentient beings all around us, and that the pleasure experienced by the merit field, that bliss and the non-dual bliss and emptiness, etc. And then dissolving, as was described, all of the members of the merit field back into that single figure of Guru Manindra Vajradhara, or if preferable, just our teacher, the Buddha, the historical Buddha, if that's okay, and that that precedes then one's main objective for that meditative session. Very, very important to engage in meditation in this way, in a fully comprehensive, most beneficial way, and that and in this case. And then we are engaged in the meditation on the graduated path to enlightenment in the course of this talk or this teaching. And so here then we invoke the blessing and the help of the figure of Guru Manindra Vajradhara, still as the central figure and the remaining figure in our merit field. And we set up an appropriate invocation by setting up a lotus and sun and moon disc mandala on our crown, and with the lotus setting up and symbolic of renunciation, the moon symbolic of the mind of enlightenment, and the sun of the correct view of emptiness, and therefore involving all of the three principal paths in our practice. And then we make the invocation verse, "O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness and bestow on me the attainments of your body, speech and mind." And so the main figure emanates and comes to our crown, seated on our crown, faced in the same direction as we are, and we have the assurance that they will look after me and be there until we attain enlightenment. And we can rejoice having that assurance that the Buddha will remain with us and look after us and assist us until we attain our state of enlightenment. And then at this point, offering again of the 7-limb practice and the mandala offering. So with too much explanation, maybe we won't get very far in the text. So we'll really, but in terms of any success in meditation, it's extremely important to establish this as a habit, as a regular habit of our meditation.
DJ lapshana yabu yusro di kandel jada sumju sosum go wadela moni dagi mani di jamne kundela wala di tuen chayin ba odine chen dami go wadela kosa shaso na ngas ila cha mo da
gilla niba ngon shini kinje manak dun gomba topa ngontu semchen tamjela semyom tropa ko
다디 냠도 제네 야가 요서로 이 칸다 치 칸지부터 디 카서데 라샤도 숨소소데 잠네군데 라마라 토안도 찬 소아데 되게 좋아서 다데네 향나시라 데네 다다 마심제 탐제 줄라서 심제 탐제 니리 차다다 다뇨를 내봐다 마셰 tinje so chamba 닝제 장주고 생거 또 와케바체 아니 가서 개와 라마레 징글라도 소 셰소와데베 지말 라마레 꿀레 두제나가 비서지바 균바 사실 심제 탐제게는 가서다 가서 류섬라 슈베 토만벨라서 틱제 탐제다 개와도야 아니 심제 탐제 니리 차다 제베서 셈묘바 개와다 마셔나 진수벌 잠바다 이제 자주가 생거 또바 개와지 개와 계지게 디고 타제 장제다 류당서 찾아 손나다 개와도야 심제 탐제 니리 차다한다 그래서 오다 심장 개발도 심장 탐자를 내리 차단들 다녀는 내가 중수 선도 어떤 조금 마시지 어디 놈도 자나 야가 있어요.
So we'll begin again at that point where again we do that stake-like supplication from the miraculous book of the Gelugpas. My most divine Guru, Lord of the four Kayas, I make petition to you, Shakyamuni, Vajradhara, etc. And then we consider ourselves and all sentient beings, that we may be able to develop that sense of equanimity that is free of attachment and anger, holding some close and others distant, and furthermore to continue on making the supplication that we may be able to generate this path of the 7 cause and effect instruction from seeing all sentient beings as one's mother, remembering the kindness, wishing to repay the kindness, developing love, compassion, that special intention, and experiencing the result of the mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta itself. And that making that supplication to our Guru, and then we have the 5 coloured nectar lights emanating from the heart center of our Guru through our crown and through the crowns of all sentient beings as well, and so that all of the negativities and obscurations that we have accumulated since beginningless time are eradicated. And in particular we have eradicated the obstacles to developing the mind of equanimity, which is able to view all sentient beings free of attachment and anger, the kind that holds some close and others distant. And also we are able to overcome the obscurations and negativities to are preventing us from realizing the different stages of the 7 cause and effect instruction, from seeing all sentient beings as one's mother, remembering the kindness of the mother, wishing to repay that kindness, thereby developing loving, the affectionate love, compassion, the special resolution or resolve, to gaining the result of the mind of enlightenment itself. And that having received then this powerful light streaming through our body-mind continuum, our own body and all the bodies of all the sentient beings all around transform into pure, clear light, we are endowed with a long life and extra merit, and an increasing appreciation of the scriptural and realizational teachings. And in particular, we have that special potential to fully realize the mind of enlightenment, the mind of equanimity, which holds free of attachment and anger, that holds some close and others distant.
다 그저 남르게 단 디나네다 그래서 기부 중고 기부 첨부 코도 레테데 기부 첨부 코도게다 냠상에 조어데다 란치고 맞아 타이어만게 심진 탐제거든도 되어주베 다 되어주베 산제 고마 마톰나 되어 차상와지 뚝뚝고 매버 인자 근데 산제 고마 되더니 중앙되고 여러봐 되어 어디를 중앙되고 근데 인바이자 무슨 준데 다 되게 된데그 로다 심진 탐제 산제 고마 되더니 그 로직게고요 로직게발라 아니 거기에 쇼스는 계기요만 그래서 계고서 거 람람람니 계고도 안디 규창니 계고데 주들라 주네명아 두고는 심계주 다시 냠제고도 심계주 니 요고요도 다다 값수보다 주네명아 두고는 심계주 수고도와 다 주네명아 두고는 심계주들라 당고시도 주네명아 두고는 토마 문도 심제 탐제라 심녀마주 고고래서 다 주네명아 두고는 심계발라야 안 녀라다 따뇽지 매바이나 안 심계 두고 매바이나 심녀가 따뇽 공공국으로 좀 그때 대다 맞도바이나 잡아다 닝제 개바이나야 잡아다 닝제 쳐야 그래서 초자제만도 딱 그래서 가실 요게 가실 매거지 초 가실 요게 가실 맞잡고 찍게 되 그래서 초자제래 미케시 초자제게 잡아다 닝제니 잡아다 닝제 첨부 마인배 치대 잡아다 닝제 첨부 가루이나 미과심제 탐자를 믿고 배치돼서 오다 미과심제 탐자를 믿고 그래 다들 이번인자 단용의 사실 잠배 주일내내 수가다 단용의 사실을 잠배의 주일내내 안 장주성과 누구 깨고 여배 인자 아니 다고 단용의 사실 고고 요랬어 그러나 단용 공고 그래서 어디 수도 어디죠
So here then it says the second main outline of this main section is called the actual session. And this refers to the fact that we have now entered onto the Mahayana vehicle section of the graduated path teachings, having finished the sections dealing with the beings of elementary and intermediate scope. And now we're looking at the practitioner being of a greater capacity or greater scope. And their objective, apart from having gone through the previous objectives of hoping for a positive rebirth, for the being of elementary capacity, the possibility of liberation from cyclic existence for the being of intermediate capacity. Here, the practitioner is saying that just to gain benefit, and especially just to gain liberation for myself alone, is really not enough, and really not appropriate, especially when all mother sentient beings are in the same boat, and they are needing help, and they need to get relief from their suffering and to attain liberation also. Therefore, I must have a much broader objective, and that objective is no less than to attain the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And it is in recognition that such an objective must have as its principal cause the development of the mind of enlightenment, or bodhicitta. And that is then the singular great objective of the being of a greater capacity at this stage. And that we are told that there are two main ways of doing that. That if you just simply say, may I develop the mind of enlightenment, it's not going to happen. It's just going to happen because one wishes for it, and one actually has to engage in practice and to create the actual causes that will bring it about. And so we are informed of two main means of doing that. One is the seven cause and effect instruction, and the other is the equalizing and exchange of self and other. And so here, under this heading at the beginning of the main body of the meditative session, we're going to be dealing with the first of those, how to develop the mind of enlightenment based on the seven cause and effect instruction. And at the outset, it says that here, even prior to actually entering onto that practice, we have to develop the mind of equanimity. That it is absolutely essential as a precursor to the training to develop the mind of enlightenment. Why is that? Because if we do not develop the mind of equanimity, then subsequently, if we develop love and we develop compassion as part of the causal part of the seven cause effect instruction, the love and compassion that we develop will be compromised. It will be partial. It won't be complete. And that when our love and compassion is incomplete and partial, compromised like that, it cannot be considered as the great love and great compassion that is necessary to develop the mind of enlightenment. Because great love and compassion has to be focused on all sentient beings without exception. And so it's saying here that equanimity, the ground of equanimity, is irrigated by the waters of love. And this gives rise to the sprout of the mind of compassion. Sorry, it's the ground of equanimity, the fertile ground of equanimity. Then it's sown with the seed of compassion, and that it is watered by the waters of love, and this gives rise to the sprout of not of compassion, as I said, but of the mind of enlightenment itself, a bodhicitta, and that bodhicitta then will grow and produce the fruit of enlightenment.
주 가리 고도 상고도 다 되네 임바인자 지다 심쟁가 메바 캄다 메바 나 초바 임바인자 가셰게티 로라 숑거레 가셰게 숑거 말고 나서 숑거와 나서 숑거와 다 이네 다데 태과 챔비 추게 냠레게 메바 유겐 지게 다 녀바도 되스 좋고이지 다 되네 임바자 베는 녀 가서 롭자 쉬바 저 잠을 지게 지나 최 켈링게 마부여레 쾌말링게 마부여레 켈링게 나로 출루미다 마부 시부지여레 다 출루미다 마부 된주 나로라 다 간제 출루 관계게 지금 랍자데 미스 약보차다 미상보차에 랍자데 강가 지송래 예 이내 다 간제 지금 다 제딜라 상보다 약보자 마지 바지 개와 치마 편절라 패들래 다 개와 치마 명다나 마다나 관계지 제되기도 와 다데 이번 인사 개와 치마데 지금 뭔데 고마서로 더 애들 출루 관계가 제도 때 뭐죠 남배 중국에서 기부 충무스가 차대 여러 왔지 출루 관계라 디 규디 유해되는 소리도 와 뭐죠 인더스토나 잡아이나 다 되네 제주도 딱 뭔데 고마서왔다 뭐죠 딱 뭔데 고마서왔 나 참마셔 뭔데 고마디에 코아리샤 딜라 다 동네 또 용화 여바이네 잡아도 제가 동네도 교회 동네도 잡아도 제가 동네도 되네 인사 잡아도 제가 동네도 또 삽다 마친데 잡아도 제가 동네도 빠마도 보다 군이 기바지 차사 말이야 삼로들네 온데 아니 신에 아니 코에 교가르샤 제주는 코에 교 제주도 아니 코에 교도 단지 말이 버리자티 또 다음에 또 베셔로 오 되네 기부 딩기 추고도 일레고도 다디잖아 다디저도 아니 신에 남배 투모 많이 봐서로 차도 다디 남발에 대제민도 망고 유튜브나 지단 제바나 Pali tradition da Sanskrit tradition ni yoba yedu ati Pali tradition da Sanskrit tradition ni ga tumo wa chati ga twa dene da tegwa chibe da ranjigwa tabato wa 타입에 맞겠으면 탐정 전투 그래 세도 다 빨리 슝나라고 말다 산스크리트 슝나 파주고 여러 그거를 조당하지도 와
So then having
그래서 가리네 거 주가를 줄을 때도 제부 연구비요 상고 주가를 상도 상금도 되네 세네 거기 리서치 소스 가서 도나쳐 봐이나
So at this point then, having like really reached that point, presented with the setup of the 7 cause effect instruction, the presentation of the essential point of developing equanimity at the outset and so on. And so you see the reasoning behind that, fine. But then we have to go, okay, what are the causes that must be established in order to bring about the result that is projected here. Does it make sense? Are they in harmony and so on? And for this, really, we can look into the really vast variety of spiritual traditions that are extant in order to cope with the vast variety of capacities of sentient beings out there, or affinities of sentient beings out there. And this will, bring us into what is necessary in order to be able to enter into any particular tradition, and within those tradition, any particular stage of that tradition. So it's really saying, where are you, spiritually at? And here, from the point of view of the many different spiritual traditions now, it's saying that you follow certain parameters that are laid out in our traditions to lead a better life with good advice on good ethical conduct and so on. You can have firm hopes for a better future life. Be it a heaven, or be it any whatever name is given to it, it's in some way saying that if you engage in certain positive behaviors in this life, you will have a better future. And this kind of corresponds to the goal of a fortunate rebirth for the being of elementary capacity that is discussed in the graduated path teachings, doesn't it? And so you can see that there is some sort of correlation between the kind of path that is followed and the result that can be expected within that stage of the graduated path, the being of elementary or basic capacity, and all of the many of the other spiritual traditions. then then one looks beyond just a fortunate rebirth, and that one realizes that even though one has this that's positive rebirth, that still remains within what is known as cyclic existence, and that cyclic existence is in the nature of suffering, and indeed any rebirth in that reality is going to have to experience suffering, not just the suffering of suffering itself or the suffering of change, but most particularly and most insidiously pervasive suffering. And one slowly gets to realize that actually, if I don't do something drastic, I am never going to get beyond having to experience this level of suffering, this pervasive suffering. And so one comes to realize that one must actually get out of a cyclic existence. And to do that, I must isolate what the main cause of being in cyclic existence is. And that is the ignorance with regard to the true nature of reality. And one then develops the antidote to that, the wisdom of selflessness, in order to affect that result. So one sees the causes, then how to establish the causes to be able to bring about the result of that level. And that corresponds, as we know it, in the graduated path teachings, to the being of intermediate capacity. But it also is the kind of demarcation point between what is called within Buddhism as the Pali tradition and the Sanskrit tradition. And so far, in terms of the goals and the causes that are laid out, these two are in harmony. These two are together. But from here on in, when we develop the notion that this kind of striving for liberation for myself alone isn't enough, because all sentient beings require help, require liberation also, and therefore I must dedicate myself to the purpose of freeing them. That then we leave the Pali tradition at that point, and we're entering into the Sanskrit tradition as it is known, where one now is centered on the necessity of attaining the state of enlightenment. Why? Because that's the way I can really benefit all sentient beings. And that is the what is known as the mind of enlightenment.
가와이 바다 소소 멋 트고도 아니 소소 가기라 아니 제바이나 문에다네 편도 가기 차요서래 아니 미 샴발라 디편도 제바 셰모 미컴 메바 나서 바래 다 소소가 내단 가발래도 아니 딜라바베 그래서 아니 문에다네 편도 출루 간가 편도 제도 있어 와
So this is why it is held that all spiritual traditions have their own good qualities, that they are all necessary. Because when we actually do our own sort of spiritual stock take and see where we're at, what we can cope with, what we have a liking for, what we have an affinity for, that's the path that we should follow. And it's not a case of somebody else reporting that such and such a tradition that they are involved in really benefits them. That's good for them, but it may not suit you. And so you have to really look within and see, okay, what is it that I have an affinity towards? What is it that really benefits me? And to follow that tradition. And in such, you can see the necessity of having a multiplicity of spiritual traditions to cater for the multiplicity of human dispositions.
Today, Mazamozo, because knowledge, Sibaka, sharing the Kogoda, but I was Pugul Laptal Tide, the Karchan Tango, Pugul Laptal Tide, because a certificate Chedo Marwa, Pugul Laptal Tide, so Pugu Samutan Shea Chai. When I turn a Pendo Kavachia to Hako to Yecheto, and Jamal Lam Mano as you Cheto, Laptal Tango Yorba. Lopson Jago Jumsetirwa.
And so in the same way with the simple accumulation of knowledge, say in the sense of children going to schools and what schools to to put them, and what's the purpose of putting them in school. It's not simply is it to gain the high school certificate or any other piece of paper, but rather that they are able to develop a subtlety of thinking, be able to that will be of maximum benefit for them. And in such, it's important that they be able to make unmistaken choices with regard to their lives and so on. And so it's the same way on the spiritual path, that you, in as much as you can, try to make unmistaken choices with regard to what you get yourself involved in.
That is because of the me when samlo tanju you can me because honest secret that 정부 장샤 아니 어디 내출로 그출로 소소 가리 밴도 차여서 소소 감도 가와도 근데 그 따뜻한 거 고도 싫어 너무 들으지 고도 당분에 배 셋째는 나한테 공이 있어는 아니 거기 가서 시트마저 찾아도 나한테 공이 있으면 받자 가서 공이 뭐 강을 똑바 유에 되겠지 태좀 유에 되게 아니 태좀 돼야 안 된주고 태좀 지유에 되겠지 아니 들을 제바 제잖아 아니 거기 야사래 거기 소소 감다 두마 거기 야사를 하고 되지 지다 야마야서도 소소로 저모도 시작으로 시야는 시야가요 말시 미 파조 감다 미바 투베 야 파조다 야 가서 대바침을 쳐내 년도고 쳐 파조 편도 자용 거를 가셔야 줄을 시작받을 편도 꼭 감미다 와라 다 소소 감다 투바 안 가리 편도 자용사래 벌로 수비 내부터는 하고도 고고도 근데 그 남주 사바 구양 붙이 안 또 점점 돈을 주겠지
And so what, in order to be able to make such unmistaken choices, we need to assure ourselves that our thinking is direct, is straight, it's genuine, it's honest. And that here, it's really the question is the tradition that I am in the one that is most beneficial for me and for others? And that here, it requires a sharp, decisive intellect to be able to establish this. And it's not in any way appropriate to push the tradition that we are in onto anybody else. And even no matter how eloquent we are about how wonderful it is for us, it simply may not suit another disposition. And that because within our tradition too, it's like even the notion of having doubt is encouraged, because one needs to use that doubt to spur analysis, and that it should be a doubt leading towards the fact, and that our analysis is there to really establish what the truth of what we're trying to ascertain. And that here, again, open-mindedness is encouraged. The use of reasoning is essential, and that our decisions should be made on the basis of reasoning at all times. But it's also understanding the really wide variety of dispositions that human beings have, and that will determine the kind of path that they have an affinity towards.
다들 집을라마라 검심배가네 대달 삼데스. 이제 다단다데 대화 첨보고 라마라고 인샤샤고 도는 마수고 요래. 다들 라마님 저수 용다 줘 봐. 지금 당분에 지금 대화 첨보 람람 매바 요게 안데 인샤샤 개왕아지 켈링 그바 인샤샤. 여러분다 인샤샤 저거다 소원데요. 그래서 다들 이마다 딩게라 도시 디직 제시잖아. 다치다 사바드는 요바이나. 제가 이렇게 니바서다 가고 그러다 겨왕한지 유다한테 삼을 그릇이 딴 거예요. 그렇아. 그래서 나는 먼저 뒤 저다는 거 인샤샤. 똑바요 말다. 겨왕 신나마다 치마 요 똑바촌에 매겐지. 다디 야 미사와실려나 헛칼라고 다디 안도스기 로로 마신 것들 용식으로 와. 다디 제거에 지단에 저 가서래 지단에 기부 충무그 남토다네 겨왕한지 또 스케일링 거지 인샤샤로 왔다. 아니 딩가도 인데네 아니 기부 치고 가다 대자네 그리고 다 인샤샤처럼 어들 다들 임바자 다들 지라 겨왕한지 요래 지지 미지 쓰기도 산제가 수고도 계정 말아 다 좀제 가르스는 뒤 여발라 아니 리베기 갈도 안들라 가서데 리베 네바도 문도 아 요바들 가서데 요바들 아니 가서다 잡레 참아 갈도 아 매와이나 아 교양 갈도 아니 가리기 누구도 아다 되게데 아니 셰베토네 아니 게바니 고여져도 와
So, in the context of the text that we are covering now, this is the text known as the path, the quick path to omniscience, of the graduated path to enlightenment. And at this point in the text, when it is describing the various instructions and trainings and so on that one needs to engage in, the causes that one needs to establish the results that one desires, it's really within an understanding that we have already accepted a great deal of what is being presented on the path. That the issues, for example, of past and future lives is no longer in doubt for us. We completely accept the notion of past and future lives. And so there's a great deal has been settled with regard to all the kind of thorny issues around what we accept and don't accept, because it's necessary in order to be able to fuel our efforts to achieve these results at this point. And so this is very very important. And that but in order to recap and to help out maybe those who are new to this, then we will look at the reasoning and behind how to engage in how to accept the idea of past and future lives, for example. And that simply that because the Buddha said so is not enough for anybody on this path. One has to try to use one's reasoning and analysis and logic in order to be able to establish that. Furthermore, the reasoning that one uses has to be valid reasoning. So if one, it's a double-pointed analysis, because if one says, fine, I accept past and future lives, that's not enough. One has to actually prove that to oneself through reasoning, and it's not enough simply to accept it offhand. And likewise, if one says, no, I don't accept past and future lives, again, one can't leave it like that. One has to look at the reasoning and to ascertain what fault, if any, is in that position.
What is called one? Sanje Koran gets a Gelon Tagan Chenam, just Secretary Session, Lebatalangayla, Kai Lebatalangayka, Lawacha, which was Sanje Jumdeke, and the Gelonda Kebatula, and Negi Shebati, and or Sanje Gal Deva Ubejum, and Nalaguba Ubejum, Kenago Maris, repeat Chevaches, Serin Yogansuga, and Chevacristigras, Dar Che, and Darche and Sepala Subajet and Sedimetal, and she said in Mahagana, no good ones. What a dinner, and yes, Shevachum said the magic cannot repair on the Chevaches. And if we had a Ratugotona, and she Lalecas. What are the what the day? That's Sanjay soon you are, and really, Castle Sanjay Loma Tayabare, Loma Tayabay, and Sanjay Pendote, come down to my Pendote, and what come Mindawa and a tender Mindawa, also Yungu. That the Munet on it, Tandurish, never knew it was repeat Cheva Machena and more to Marwa. Yanani, because of the puzzle, because of the and Jimson Mutum Gazaka, because of the some of die Yoba Soon, some of die Meva Soon, that initiative, Uncle Die Yoba the Mava Niti and get it. In that, cause repair Cheva might repair when I tell Mavana and a Tandon carrying yet to marry. And Tangi Yawade repair when a Cheva Chegura, Tamatama repair it on and a Tacheku Yorba. What did it?
And so this process of putting everything to analysis is none other than what has been very, very constantly emphasized by the Buddha himself. And there's a famous statement of his saying, Gelong, O fully ordained monks, he said, you should not accept what I say out of faith in me or out of respect for me, that you are required to analyze everything that is said, just as a merchant would check gold before parting with any money to buy it. They would cut it, they would burn it, they would rub it to assure that it wasn't mixed with something else, that it was pure gold. And in the same way, the process of checking for you is your ability to analyze. Use your discriminating awareness of analysis to check on everything. And if you find that it is good and it is useful, then yes, I will oblige you to put that into practice. But you must not just accept things just because it is said so. And this has given rise to the fact that when the Buddha was teaching, he taught in accordance with what his audience could handle, could cope with. And so this gives rise to one of the major classifications of the Buddhist teachings into those that are definitive, that they are exactly the truth of what has been said, and that can be established, and others that are known as interpretative. And so they were actually said just in a particular instance in order to be of benefit to a particular person with that disposition. And so in some cases you will read in the Buddhist teachings where the Buddha has encouraged people to believe that there is a self that exists, and then in other cases that there is no truly existent self. And so this appears to be a contradiction, but it is because in the first case this was an interpretative teaching for a particular occasion, and the other was a more definitive teaching. Now, how do we know which is which? It is only by applying our own reasoning. And this is another reason why the very process of analysis and reasoning is absolutely vital and essential in Buddhism, that in order to be able to establish what is definitive and what is interpretative. So this is saying that on this path, really, no matter what level one is at, one has to be able to use one's analytical capacity, one's reasoning capacity, and therefore to take whatever is read and said just on face value isn't really good enough. Then one has to apply valid reasoning to establish if that is true and useful and correct, and that it must stand up to that kind of analysis. And therefore, again, to emphasize that in this context, in this path, the use of analysis and ability to reason is not a choice, it's an obligation. And so, for example, on a basic level, when we try to establish the fact of past and future lives, we can look at the world and we see that there are some people and some children who actually remember their past lives, and and so if that's the case, we can't say that just because we don't remember our past lives that past lives don't exist. And so indeed, we don't remember a great deal of what's happened in this life.
어디를 영대도 어디다 다 간제 안 학도도 개치주 가서나 아니 교육원의 자도 아니 가서도 좀 뭐부터 이 잡아잖아 뭐부터 이 잡아자고 줄을 땡거 이거다 점점 매봐이나 갈 때가 그 줄을 땡거 이거 다 되고 이거다 교계 창소는 그 요되고 교계 맞잖아 그 매되고 와 다 줄이야 현재적인 일에 교스다도 다 현재적인들라 답변은 먼저 소소라 다 응가라서 밀레시 다 가서도 풍부지다 셰바스니도 다 셰바들라 다 가져 뒤 교지 파자도 아니 셰방가 맞지 마잖아 그 숙제 뭐는 말이야 다 셰방가 맞지 마잖아 뒤 일에 교 셰방가 맞지 잡고도 파파파 또 온데 아니 겨왕감에 셰바지 마잖아 타면 뒤가마들 뒤가마 셰바지 마잖아 타면 근데 파파파 대줘도 아니 토만 내봤는지 용되겠지 패제 못해 요래 패제 못해 가서 셰바가 조단의 약고 씹어지 아니 준제가 조단의 약고 씹어이나 다 준제 조단 약고 마시나 라버를 보면 더 마시나네 거 씹어셔 하고 말어 준제 조단 약고 씹어지 리베가 조단의 약고 씹어이나 오 셰방가망가망가마지 요거에지 뒤 나로 대마타기 셰바지 요거 뒤지도는 토만 매번에 용거에지 아니 토마들에 마음 못는 정도에지 가르스나 콜에 개그 유메디야 코지 리베 조단도는 원지 쳐봐이나 어느 거 개그매나 그 못는 조되게 이렇지 어디 되지
And so back to then looking into the fact or otherwise of past and future lives, and here to apply the reasoning, it's good to have a passing knowledge of the law of cause and effect and consciousness itself, and that here when it comes to the categorization of phenomena, the consciousness forms is part of what's known as a functioning object, and every functioning object for its existence must be established on the basis of cause and condition. So they need these causes and conditions for it to bring about, for it to be produced. And so let's look into then how the different aspects of our makeup of body and mind conform with that kind of rule. And so when we look at the body, it being matter, it being something physical, it will have for its cause, its substantial cause, a physical beginning, and that and then with the cooperating conditions establish the fetus, the rest, the growing of the body, and so on, to what we have now. But when we look into consciousness, consciousness is something that is categorized as not matter. It's not a physical entity, and therefore to establish a substantial cause as something which is matter or a physical entity will not suffice. It will not establish something that is not matter, but like consciousness. And therefore we propose that the substantial cause of consciousness is a previous moment of consciousness, and that forms the substantial cause. And when you follow that logic, then you will have that each moment of consciousness is established by its preceding moment, and then so it forms this regression back and back and back to the consciousness you had earlier time in this life, and right back to the first moment of in the mother's womb. And so when one establishes that moment of consciousness, one must go beyond this life into a previous life to establish the substantial cause for that first moment of consciousness. And so when one continues back and back and back, one can go through many different lives, back to beginningless time, in fact, and have countless rebirths. And this is established furthermore because of what's known as the continuity of consciousness, that we have all had this a single mind stream of continuity of consciousness that is not in any way broken or halted, because there is nothing to become an obstacle to that continuity.
샤바 다다 베나 차자 들가서 체리바게자 딱지 제원도 아니 지금 파이 아니 제대다 마이 공원이가 꽤매가 이내야 아니 되니 저 체원도 보고 자tam바 차그래서나 셰두고도 와 셰두고 말했어도 다 셰두고 매바 이번에 다 주게 셔바지 창고고 요바데 겨왕가 매기 다 바르시와치 바르시야 지게 아니 데레차 창고바데 다 직 창고 매바데 디차다 다 되게 숨 좀어도 아니 보고 차고도 와 그러나 다 바르시와서 다 세리바데 켈링게 요바데 이나 다 파이 제대다 마이 아니 가서 공안이가 백괴매가 딱딱지만 보고 가르디 보고 차그래서 어디 가르디 요 말했어. 땡키고 말했어. 다 때마다 좀 제대 셔요 말때 이나 다 답에다 가서 남배원에 삼았다나 오호 다들 발시에서 한국 매가 있다 뒤차고 요 말했어. 뒤레게 저요 발시와치.
And so on the one hand you have scientists and the medical fraternity who can establish that in general when one has a faultless sperm from the father and a faultless ovum from the mother, and then when they conjoin that can bring about in their terms the fetus and a new birth. But that in many cases even though that's the case, it doesn't lead to a new birth, that the sperm and egg can conjoin, but there's no formation of a fetus, no formation of a new life. And so there's no explanation for why that is the case from their point of view. From the Buddhist point of view, we say that there is no entrance of consciousness at that point, and therefore there is no progress of the sperm and egg development. And that here it's a case of in establishing that the moment of that consciousness comes from an intermediate being, Barsiwa, that is the intermediate level between a previous life and this next one that's being established. And so that last moment of consciousness of that intermediate being is the primary or substantial cause of that first moment of consciousness entering in to the sperm and the ovum. And so it's three elements necessary to bring about a new life, not just the two as established in science. But of course they don't accept the idea of an intermediate state being.
이네 다디 가서 다디 마요 좀 전에 건조 시에 당는 것도 와 다디 이네 다 딜라 때네 겨왕아마 요바디 이시체도 줘서 와 오다 대상에 자기 매바 이나 다딜라 발시와지 매바 이나 차두고 매도 오 겨왕아마를 이시체 줘서 것도 와또 밀어 못 돼도 와 그래서 믹스에 들어가서 체리 봤을 강게 갈라간zam가 오이체서 소리 차대도 와 좋아 체리 발라나 체리가 다 제발라나 꼭 그게 이치에 소리 차대요 봐. 미만 보게 가서는 체리가 제발 딱지 제 먹어 왔다. 어디 체리가 다 제었어. 다 될지도 다 체리가 디가스 니 온데 가서는 코 파이 되다 마디 니가 요번에 부고 차에 가렌디 민도서 다 겨왕아마 요바다 다 될라 때는 또 지게 그래서 이질리에 람니아도 왔다.
And so that when we think of often is the case, especially nowadays, that what is established by scientists is seen to be true and correct and needs no further analysis. It's accepted by the general population, and so that how a new life comes about through the combination of sperm and ovum and so on, established by medical science, there's no question with regard to that. But we can use that certainty as well to try to grow our conviction in the idea of previous lives, because in those cases where even though a faultless sperm and faultless ovum have come together and that no new life is forthcoming, as established by the scientists, therefore it must be true, then it begs the question, what's missing? What's incomplete in that combination? And we can propose that maybe there is the lack of consciousness coming from an intermediate state being and previous lives. And so we get closer to the possibility that we can establish the veracity of there being previous lives.
다가는 것은 미기 검시다 시가다 파마찌게 보고 있는 검시 시가 민자와 다 내가 그 개왕감에 그 바차 민자 그 용되기도 와 똑바민도 와 정보잖아.
Another reasoning that can fuel our conviction in previous lives is the very variety, the differences between siblings of the same parents. There are different dispositions, there are different habits, there are different ways of thinking. This is very clear, isn't it? In families where there are more than one child, that they can often be very different children. And so this then is established how. It must be. One of the possibilities is that these are dispositions and habits that have been formulated over previous lives.
그래 다 락바 대수 삼로다다 좀제 먹고시라 삼로 되게 좀 통한데 저도 다 준대게 조단 되게 삼로다나다 개왕아마 매나다 마티게 소리 쳐왔다 준대게 조단 약고시 삼로다나 현지 지게데 녀랭이 주다 되게 삼로 약고시다나 어다 매나 마티게 소리 쳐 리펜데 바바고 티 산제 소리 계자 말에 디 가서래 주다 데뷔기에는 조단지 그래서 로스가 가서래 조단지.
So then, in using these kinds of reasonings, some subtle, some more coarse, is all about then reaching a point of saying that it can't be other than past and future lives. That the reasoning points to that sort, the only logical conclusion. And that especially when one considers the law of cause and effect very, very subtly and has a subtle understanding of substantial cause and cooperative conditions and applies that, one can reach a point where, yes, I've used the reasoning, I've used the logic, and I can see that there is no other possibility but that there are past and future lives.
다데나 지벨라마라 검시뱅간에 디다 삼다사 다 페너카야 마젠베 바 메시지 체트도 세다 미 안디 뭐네 안 대화도 체트도 미테바 미테베사 미테베 랭간이 녀와소네 팬토 랭간이 레와소네 너바키레 차니 메자와서 미리 차단데 제가 따녀를 녀와서 차오서 제다치는 거 라마레 칭글라도 수서 와다들 수립자 와들자.
And so then with regard to the initial objective here is to establish the sense of equanimity with regard to all sentient beings. And again, we recall that we have our guru on our crown, and through meditating with that in mind, we consider a person who is in our perception neutral, that they don't benefit us, they don't harm us, there's no connection, and that we visualize them in the space in front, and we say, from their own side, they want happiness and they don't want suffering. But in my holding them close, I'll be more inclined to benefit them. In my keeping distance from them, I'm more likely to harm them, and I want to eradicate those two extremes. And to establish that the sentient being in the state of have a view of equanimity towards them that is actually free of that kind of attachment and that kind of aversion. And I make a supplication to the Buddhas, to the Guru on my crown, please help me to make this so.
가자 다들 팬을 가야 맞아 먼저 밤에 심지어서 쓰고 요때 얘네야 뒤 친구지 랑게 들라 팬을 따토나 얘네 뒤 소소를 팬 따봐 얘나 야 지금 밤에 심지대 녀라 차줘요 거도 야뒤 지게제 셰단다 남주던다 민다와지 야 자야 차야도가 랑게 팔에 남주던다 게제 셰단 민다와지 자야 차도가 들도가 어떤 예바스케보도 밤에 심지는 고주 있는 밤에 이봐 말해 아 다들 개왕가마 편제라 저만은 다 뒤야 랑기체도 아니 빠서다 랑을 받아 페바 빠도 매버 좀 되게 페바 빠도 매버 제뉴거지 이바도 똑바 매되겠지 그래서 제뉴가지
And so also to really establish the whole notion of there being an established concrete element of a neutral being is highly questionable, in that if they in any way benefit me, they are likely to be counted in the category of those who are close to me automatically. And conversely, if they harm me in any way, physically or verbally, that they become automatically under the category of my enemy, or the one to whom I have aversion. And so there's nothing fixed about these. And in terms of past and future lives, when we look into past lives, the one who now we may see as neutral has been of tremendous benefit to me countless times, and so on. And we've had every kind of relation with them. And so the idea of maintaining that idea of there being neutral or of no significance to me is undermined and highly questionable.
That's the Koran where the Dewa do Madua Yimbadeta, because of the round of Kokuna soon they were charter. That like Jing Jessa meeting it. Simja Koran when it Dewa do Tunga to Yomarwa, or the Dewa do Tunga to Yomar. There's a on the Jig because of needing because of the Chekoeketa. Kasodata, Chekoe medic, Yabado, that Pamba Chekugajana, Pamba Chekuich. What are the legend? Mean a Delang, Dewa Doja to Mutube, and the Ranga never so. That is subject I say never so. And Cashelia never so the Pamba Chek, Rangania, Tawas of Magawa Chen, and Yiri Chek with the Jumze Chek with the subject Korea when the Chavina. Dewa do the Tunga Medugan Yibayinza, Yabato, Pamba to Koya Chagum, the Nova Gate, that sometimes they let go your one, the Inzatan Kumkus.
And that further reasoning here, and to establish a sense of equanimity, is to understand that this sentient being, who we see as neutral, they simply want happiness and they don't want suffering, and that should be reason enough to eradicate that category of neutral and to establish them with equanimity, and that this whole notion of holding some close and others distant is in itself untenable, and that we should eradicate and erode those that sort of thinking as much as we can. And indeed, from the whole prerogative of where we are on the path, that whenever there is an opportunity to benefit, we should take that opportunity and be of benefit. So this is the kind of thinking that should supplement what's here to transform those who are neutral into bring them under the umbrella of equanimity.
Doing the subject by messenger set up, and around the Java making a subject set up, and down the Rangi Bear Jig 7 Yabuja near set up, and by messenger Tilla, and Rangi till they do Kayamajan Java Majan, and Rangi Randa Yaga Java, Tuga Java, Kaya Java Mavati, Ongi Chatatua. In a subject Koran when the Java in they want to go to Chatter. And round the Java Yabu making the subject, yeah, and said that's also get a set of Mati with a number of Matiana tea when the Chinatos Mati Wachana, or that tea comes to China and call it Devaki, call it Digituna Maga, call it to mention a cutting it. Then, Yang when the summer star in the courage himself or that ranking ye by Yenza, till a digi turned near to mention a Matuga Chatter. In a similar cross, when a Devaina, Sunga Chipachicha Chatter, Dewa to get to me to Chipachicha Chatter Yorba. Chipachicha Chatter Yorba. What is it? And the 10 years ago, there on Neka Kitchig, Javayani, Kabajimato, Shogai, Settle Nye, get similar document chatter, Settle dying, get similar Nye chatter, Nye, because of the Dagani by messenger, not Settle by messenger, similar Nye, so chatting your that never can make it. In a that didn't go so never with some down that Chatan get down on you want to get one.
And so the classic meditation is to put all the three categories of beings in a visualization in front, where you have not just the neutral representative, but also the one who's seen as a friend, as close, and then the one who's seen as distant or categorized and labeled as the enemy. And then one engages in trying to develop the sense of equanimity with regard to all, and that here. We take the neutral person who there's no particular feeling exchanged between us at all, neither good nor bad, and that here. But we have to admit that from their side, it's very clear that they want happiness and they don't want suffering. That's undeniable. And that here also, that in terms of the person who is in the category of enemy, it's because in this life, we have had some verbal disagreement or a physical falling out, and that they're labeled as enemy. But at the same time, we have to admit that just like the neutral person, that person wants happiness and doesn't want suffering. And likewise, when we look at the one who's considered as friend, because they have helped us in some way, or we have some sense of closeness towards them, that they also want happiness and don't want suffering. And so what's common to all is that they want happiness and don't want suffering. And they all have an equal right to want happiness and to avoid suffering. This is the key point that we must establish.
And
so also that we look into the tremendous fickleness of these categories, that they're constantly changing from one to the other, that the one who's seen as neutral now can be either the enemy in the evening and then a friend again next morning, or the one who this morning was our enemy can become a close friend by evening, and the one who was our friend this morning can become arch enemy by the afternoon. So there's this sense of total lack of certainty with regard to these categories. And so that the main characteristic of these categories is that they are unreliable, like the Melbourne weather, like Anna says. And so to try, what we have to understand is that this tendency we have to reify these differences, to put people in categories, is completely wrong, completely unacceptable and unbeneficial.
동에게 나와대 하고 받던 미수베토네 펜바투게 동에게 나와대 시베토네 닝지기에 왔다 들에 좋아이나 아니 소소라 펜토다 누구 옆에 좀 전에 매바자 디 동에게 나와 입에 좀 세게 아니 펜바투게 주고로 와 다디 잡아인 아니 소소를 내봐 입에 이나야 동에 메도마다 대화도와 당자 대되기로 와다 지금 닝지게다다 지금 그것서 되게 동에 메도에 좀 세도 전에 깨대지 대화 되게 좀 제도 전에 펴마투게. 대화 되게 좀 제도 전에 잡아고비에. 그러나 동해 메도가 좀 제도 전에 닝지기에지. 그래서
And so when it comes to a person who is referred to as a fully qualified human being, someone who is genuine in their outlook, and they're genuine because they are proceeding on the basis of valid reasoning for their actions, that they will really see the actuality of a situation, the actuality of every interaction that they have, and that they have only two possibilities, and that is where they see suffering, they find that unbearable, and they develop compassion. When they see the possibility of bringing happiness, their response is to try and benefit as much as they can to establish happiness. And that is the only kind of like how do you say, demarcation point for their choice of action. And so here it's very, very important that even if somebody is harming us, that we have to establish that regardless of that person only wants happiness and does not want suffering. And so that is the only guide for what our response should be, to try to remove that suffering and try to provide that happiness.
다가데 줌체 돈에 조선 다 니수 드스로 줌체 돈에 아니 인제기 줌체 돈에 잡바기 어디에 제가 이나다 되게도 용두고 와. 다 줌체 매바체는 랑 줌체도 제와는 다 줌체 도스 lok바처 차다. 엔지체도 아니 거제보다 랑데 제와 야고 요나 인제기 랑데 제와 야고 매는 인제마이가 인제베 삼르기 용두고 와.
So that this holds then as absolute paramount that these responses of compassion and love in this instance must be empowered by reasoning. That if not, they are going to be in danger of being compromised and partial in their in delivering that compassion and that love, such that we will only respond with compassion and love if it benefits us or if it suits us, and that we will only benefit the one who is we feel close to and who is kind to us, but we won't offer any compassion to the one who harms us. In fact, we will want to just harm them back.
사상 지기 세바드네 남이 지기 세바드네 용되기도 다 가르던 지난 남을 제와 요래 이내 제와디 랑 좀센도 전 제와 임바인자 아니 랑게 되와 매베 님과데 아니 제와디 대두도 그 교한테 요구도.
And so you see here on the news quite often where one partner kills another, or there's like murder within the same family, and there can be no doubt that there is love within these relationships, but it's a love that is absolutely compromised by saying, it's just a love for one's own sake. And so therefore when the other doesn't do what is desired, therefore they can be killed. And so you can see the drastic negative effects of having a compromised sense of love in that sense.
그래. there's 세워서 그 좀제 뷰다 보지 매와는 그냥가 쉬울도 와. 나라도 세워다 망체데 가르쳐 랑 좀제도 잡대 랑 젠세 요래. 랑 젠세스 근데 아니 소소 대화 매베니까 가리네 제스기로 와. 가리네 제스기래.
And so you can see with that sort of very much fractured and incomplete sense of love, there's actually quite a lot of danger attached to it. And we have to be aware that in fact much of what we consider as love is really mixed up with self-cherishing attitude, and that again when there's an overflow of that self-cherishing combined with the object of your love not fulfilling your desires, there can be a very negative outcome to that.
어때? 다들 자 지당 알아들어 닝지가 사변소 다들 먼저 좀 센데베 닝지기를 배주당 거도 좀 센데베 닝지기를 배주당도 안디 좋아이나 아니 doctor 받거든 요거 말와.
And so this is not to say that everybody has also the seed of compassion, but that seed then must be nurtured and cultivated and developed on the basis of valid reasoning. And if it proceeds like that, if it grows in that way, there is no danger attached to it.
아니 저기 근데 좋아이나 아니 술로 내밖에 와이네 파닝지게 투에지. 가르스나 거서 닝지 좀제데 동에 메도바 인사 닝지게 요와.
And so that that reaches the point where it says the fully qualified compassion is the compassion that automatically arises even when somebody is harming you, because one understands that the results of their action is going to be suffering, because they're creating that cause, and so therefore they're straightforward, first and foremost, an object of compassion.
안 내가 가서 동해 주고 말해 동해가 주가리마 하고는 안 들리지게 되게 좀 싶어도 삼자 동해데 라 미소밖에 동해 주라 도나메 봤잖아 뒤에 내가 도와.
So that means therefore that we can not only just simply focus on the one who is suffering, and that but also the one who is causing the suffering, because we know that if one's creating the cause of suffering, the only result of that is going to be suffering. And therefore we must have compassion for both the victim and the perpetrator of that crime towards that victim.
그래. 나도도 가서 동해도 미소밖에 내다 그러는데 동해 유튜브를 미소밖에 또 가요. 또나 가서는 뒤 렌트가 남자를 예봐 약보지 많이나 가버려도 와.
So that's why it's often the case where we can readily develop the sense of compassion for the one who is suffering, the victim. But it's much more difficult to develop a sense of compassion for the one who is creating the causes of suffering by perpetrating that particular crime. And so that means that we have to understand the law of cause and effect at a much more subtle level. Let's leave it there. We haven't really got very far, but let's leave it there for today.
대화전화 요금도 미디어바전화 아니 제가 소소를 김나 요구도 아니 소소게 셈 예보 요금들라 갈전에 아니 딜라 대화 동저다 동에서도 로키기도 안 되게 야고 전에 이제 아니 강가리 게임하도 가바투 되샤 좀 생각하셔 다 되게 야고 저 사로 땅바이나 아니 신에 동에 대화 동에 미디어 찍어지잖아 다 갈전에 게임도 다 랑게 사로 땅다 전에 게임도 와 안디 하고베도 뒤와 땅고도 근데 겨왕한 제다 아니 제대로 체매다 교화되다 겨왕한 지기 전에 아니 지금 대화 요다 되게 막 뭐질라 삼로다는 다는 걸로 깨닫지지 다는 걸로 깨닫지 다는 걸로 야보지 깨와이나 아니 강가라 아니 지 인지 깨두고도 가서 동네 요바지 봐라 대화 찍고 동네 밑에바지 봐 인사 아니 강가라 인지 깨두야 고갑도 와 뒤깨도 와이나 아니 랑이 인지의 생기 상황 차기로 와
So in the course of trying to cultivate equanimity, we need to go through all of these kinds of reasonings, of being honest with regard to ourselves, about how our attitudes are towards those who are neutral, how our attitudes are to those who we have some sense of distance from, and are in that category of enemy, or the ones for whom we have aversion. Why is that? To really look at it from a lot of different angles, and indeed the ones who we feel close to, and why it's a lot easier for us to develop a sense of compassion for when they're suffering, and an opportunity to benefit when they want help. And that we have to be able to expand that natural fundamental desire for all sentient beings to avoid suffering on the one hand and to want happiness on the other, and that whether we regard them as a neutral enemy or friend is irrelevant and unreliable, and we must be able to see them all under the light of their just wanting being an object of compassion or an object of our love, and to really try to enhance that as much as possible in order to develop a sense of equanimity. And that here, using the past and future lives reasoning, if that's helpful, to apply that in the same sense, to see how over a course of time, again, these particular categories of relationship again are completely interchangeable all the time, and that and to develop this equanimity, to spend the time to develop a strong sense of equanimity. Based on that reasoning of because they are sentient beings, that's all. They want happiness, they don't want suffering, and that because developing equanimity with that reasoning is going to be very, very helpful for developing compassion at a later stage in this training, because you will use the same reasoning. That because sentient beings suffer, we find that unbearable, and so that helps us to develop a sense of compassion. And that means that our compassion also further down the line will be developing in a way that it becomes a fully qualified compassion, without focusing on all sentient beings without exception. And so then, with again bringing our focus to the Guru Munindra Vajradhara on our crown, let's recite some of the name mantras of Shakyamuni Buddha.
Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Swaha, Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Swaha, Dayata Om Muni Muni Ma Muni. What the Sadu and we said to the Rang Chibone, Maja, Tuesday Gyumpame, Rangi Lunga Yisol, but Tuesday Chingilaps around the Simita Chingilaps, subsection water to show.
And that as we recite, that the coloured nectar lights stream down from the figure on our crown through our mind and through our central channel, pervading all our body, speech and mind, every atom of our being, and again purifying all negativities and so on.
Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha, Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha, Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni, Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha, Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha, Dayata Muni Muni, Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha. What is that? Rangi Ningati, and it Tamata Jechila Kusu, so they did any mother David some time.
And then we visualize at our own heart center an upturned 8-petaled lotus on which sits lotus and sun, lotus, a moon, lotus, the sun and moon disc mandala seat. And then we recite 3 times the invocation verse, or glorious and precious root Guru. Come take your lotus and moon seat placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of your body, speech and mind. And with the first, the figure on our crown, begins the journey down through our central channel. With the completion of the second time, he arrives seated on our seat, prepared seat. And with a third, we have the certainty that the Guru Buddha will remain there, steadfast, until we attain enlightenment. And then as a result of that, the bliss arises through to the emptiness, through to the non-dual bliss and emptiness.
And then because of Nalone and Lamatuan Tochi Chanti, we said to the Rangi Chibone, Kantika Paga Rangi, that Lugi and Chazala, Nalo Chazal, we said to the Rangi, that Settle Sanjay command to make any Lugi, Kyankari Yovana, Lula, Takasaja, Chick Rangi, Chikaso, the Chip Ombodan, that Kari Yova Inaya. Kyankari, Kyanka Chatamjamas, she was just never chance for some subject. And how do and Jungshi Mania but a Quenya but how do and Settle Sanjay Goma Tovala Cargo Yurus, Tamek and Nakshi, the Kyan Chishis, Tamek and Nakshi, Kyan Karin and Mavachas, she would also some.
And that's and then the petals of the lotus fold over the figure of Guru Munindra Vajradhara, and they are sealed at the top where they all meet by semi-Vajra. And then also they are surrounded by the Sanskrit vowels going in a clockwise direction around those petals, and the Sanskrit consonants then written in an anti-clockwise direction around, and then the mantra of dependent arising in a clockwise direction again. Following that, then with the sealing of the petals, the light emanates from the Guru Munindra Vajradhara within and permeates out through the petals, and then pervades every cell and atom of our body mind continuum, and such that all fault imbalance within our elements, within our body is complete, that anything that can interfere with our being able to attain the state of enlightenment in this lifetime is completely purified and eradicated. And especially anything false of body, speech or mind are completely eradicated. In particularly our very tendency to have what is known as our ordinary view is that which is the main obstacle to our being able to attain enlightenment from the tantric point of view, is completely dismissed and eradicated. And just feel how good that is. That feels, that's really wonderful. And then through the combination of our own most subtle wind acting as the substantial cause with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, our own body transforms into the enlightened body of a Buddha. And then through the combination of our own most subtle mind acting as the substantial cause with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, our own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. And now my body, speech and mind are inseparable from the body, speech and mind of the Buddha. And this place that I am in is transformed into the palatial perfection of a Buddha realm. And then from this, bliss arises, bliss commingled with emptiness, and we abide in the non-dual bliss and emptiness. And then light emanates from our heart center as a fully enlightened Buddha, and equal in number to all the sentient beings in all the three realms of existence. And entering in through the crowns of all those sentient beings, they are automatically transformed into fully enlightened Buddhas, and their body, speech and mind become inseparable from the body, speech and mind of a Buddha. And the faults associated with their place of being are also purified, and those places are transformed into pure Buddha realms. Well, today is the day in which I have fulfilled the purpose of sentient beings and bringing them all to the state of enlightenment. And that is absolutely wonderful. I rejoice. And then we know that this is only happening at the level of our imagination, of our thinking, but I dedicate strongly that it can quickly become pure, truly manifest. And so we are Lamrim prayer from the books. on page 29. From my 2 collections, vast the space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means, strong by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings, with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddhist teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the Mighty Ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.